and the overall experience that I've had in my first few months here.
I'm Omar Khatib. I just graduated in May from Georgetown University. I majored in international economics, and now I'm working for PricewaterhouseCoopers, or PwC, as a consultant. And yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. So our first question is actually related to admission. Hey, I'm currently in my senior year, and I wanted to ask if I'm able to apply to the university before I receive my final report card. How does that work? Yes, definitely. So our admission process actually depends on your grades from grades 10, 11, and the first grade of the first semester of grade 12. Normally, the application process, the timeline, we start receiving applications as early as September 1st, and the application deadline is February 1st. For most educational systems, you won't have your final grades at the time. Most of them will become available during the summer. So we do our review process based on the information on the file. It's a holistic review process. We will take into consideration all the documents in the file. We look at your transcripts from grades 10, 11, and the first semester for grade 12. In addition to testing results, the personal statement, recommendation letters, and everything else. We normally release admission decisions by early April, so we still won't have your final grades at that time, but it's that admission offer is contingent upon successfully completing whatever studies you're currently engaged in and maintaining that same level which we offered you admission. Basically meaning you still have to take your final exams and you have to earn scores that are comparable to the scores we admitted you based on. This is how it works. If you don't really do well, or if you don't show up for your final exams, we can resend the offer. We normally don't follow these harsh measures, but we just want to make sure that students understand that it is their responsibility and our expectation for them to finish their final exams and finish their high school and graduate before actually enrolling at Georgetown. Thank you. So the next question is, what is meant by being able to cross-register, and how can I do that? I think Dean Moot can answer that question.
Yes. Students are allowed to cross-register within Education City starting in their sophomore year. In your freshman year, you're not allowed to cross-register. So what does it mean? It means that you can cross-register up to 4 times during during sophomore, juniors, and senior year. You can do that 4 times, and you can do it only once a semester. You cannot take 2 classes at Northwestern University, for example. And by taking a class at another university within Education City, it means that the class is going to be taken pass-fail, meaning that you need to earn a C or higher, hopefully higher, for us to transfer the credits. So that the grade, the grade you're going to get will not affect your GPA, your Georgetown GPA. Does that answer the question?
Yes,
yeah?
Thank you. So I think this question is for Iman and Omar. Can you talk a little bit about social life on campus? How would you describe your fellow students?
I think in general, so Georgetown is a relatively small university, so you interact with the majority of the students who are here, and it's really easy to get along with them. You don't only see them, so you'll be close to the people that you have in class, but then you'll also find you having these interactions with all the upperclassmen. I remember I was talking to my parents about this, and they're like, that's interesting because in most universities, in most bigger universities, you don't interact with the upperclassmen, but they are some of the people who become your closest friends eventually because of the tight-knit community that is offered by Georgetown. It's also really easy to get along with, besides just students, it's really easy to get along with professors as well, since you have the class sizes are relatively small and they're always willing to help you out, and their office hours that they offer. And also the activities really strengthen the ties between students. So he whispered earlier, there was a activity this past weekend. It's called Escape, and we went to the desert essentially and spent the night there reflecting and discussing a lot of our own experiences, how they strengthened us, what we've learned from them. So, and then there were also a lot of activities where we did a lot of team building and whatnot. So it's activities like these, and there are so many that are offered, so you really never get bored at Georgetown. And if you miss one, you realize that there's a lot that can compensate for it. So these activities help you get along with a lot of the people that you realize you have a lot in common with people you might not have thought you had in common with. So overall, the social life I find it great because you realize you have so many friends within they come from different backgrounds, different grade levels, so you never get bored listening to everyone's background story.
So maybe, Omar, you can take the next question for international. What is the on-campus housing like?
So I was born and raised in Qatar, so I didn't really live on campus housing. But I think you were an international student, so you'd have more experience talking about that.
So my basis of comparison was my brothers. So they went to university in the States. So in comparison to their housing, it's like, wow, I live in a hotel, essentially. It's beautiful. The accommodations are great. And one of my favorite things, for sure, is that we're not in dorms just with students from Georgetown. We're in dorms with students from all the campuses in Education City. So my two next door neighbors are from Northwestern, and then across from me is a girl from CMU. So again, that also adds to the social life beyond Georgetown. It's exciting to live in the dorms. It depends also on you how you might adjust to it, but there's a big support system within Georgetown and within the dorms themselves. There's always someone to talk to, and the student leaders, they're called TDAs and FDAs, who are always there if you have any questions about housing. And yeah, that's really all I've got.
I just wanted to add I don't know, I have no idea who the person asked the question, but the dorms are separated. Like we have the female dorms and the male dorms, and there's no mixing involved. Like it's really separated.
Okay, and this question is for academic affairs. Is there a difference between my degree and the one that I get from main campus?
Absolutely not. This is exactly the same. On your transcript, no. On your diploma, it does not say Qatar at all. The diploma you are getting from Georgetown University, Qatar, is the exact same diploma with the same people signing the diploma that the one in Washington, D.C. So there is absolutely no difference at all. Yes, no difference.
Thank you, Dean Moon. So there is one question from a transfer student. I'm currently a student at another university. Can I transfer to Georgetown? Absolutely. Every year we receive a big number of transfer applications, and we admit a good number of them. As long as the student is competitive, is qualified, and meets our admission requirements, we do admit transfer students every year. There is no separate application. It's not a separate application pool, and they follow the same exact application process and timeline as freshman students. There is no separation at that point, and the requirements are exactly the same in terms of testing, high school requirements, and everything. The only addition would be that we would also take into consideration the university transcript. How will you perform at university into consideration as well during that review process. As for transfer credits, this is a later process. Once the student is admitted, that's when we send the files to academic affairs. Dean Mood and his team will do the review and then decide whether you're eligible for any transfer credits. Thank you. And then one last question. I think this question is for Omar. Since now you're working, can you tell us a little bit about how Georgetown and Georgetown education prepared you for the job market?
So I majored in international economics, and I ended up in consulting fresh out of the gate. I think that what Georgetown University teaches you more than anything is it gives you a particular set of skills in order to tackle problems that you might face in your professional life. So I think that more than anything, I gained a better perspective and a better set of skills from international economics in order to, be better at what I do. it gives you a way of thinking, and it allows you to get a better perspective at problems that you're tackling. So yeah.
Excellent, thank you. So one last thing, where are most students at GUQ from? Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
It's really hard to say. They're from all over the country. If you guys ever come to Georgetown and look at the atrium, there's about 40, 50, 60 flags just hanging from the walls, and different flags from all over the world. Very rarely will you find more than like 5 or 6 people from the same country. Yeah, it's a very, very diverse group. International students and local students. Yeah, everyone comes from different backgrounds.
So also, because I'm an international student, where I live in the dorms, I've met a lot of the students who are from Georgetown and elsewhere. So there's definitely a Qatari majority, and then there's a good number of South Asians, and then you have a few Americans. So they're really from all over the place. And just to add to what I said earlier about you never get bored of listening to people's background stories, because you realize that they're from all, like the international kids wouldn't have just lived in one country. They would have been in 3 different ones. Like myself, for example, I'm Sudanese, but I was raised in the Philippines, but I was born in the States. So, it's very diverse. You really get a good group of students from all over the place.
Well, thank you all for joining us tonight. I think that's it for our live streaming, and thank you for your questions. I hope we managed to answer them, and till next time, thanks. And we look forward to receiving your applications.